Mayor Dude, Ilmarin, can you hear me? Is everything coming through okay? Nice to see you two showing up. Smitty! God, where do you get these lines at, Schmitty? I mean, like, I could sit around all day and not come up with half the stuff you come up with. That is good and crazy at the same time. All right, Mayor Dude. Glad to see everybody in here. Wait a minute or two here before we try and jump in and get started. But yeah, Monday night, time to work on the Cossack. The Cossack. Did you get that airbrush yet, Mayor Dude? Need to see some pictures. I want to see paint spraying everywhere. I want to see you with like raccoon eyes where you accidentally pointed it in the wrong direction, kind of Three Stooges style. That would be fun. Actually, it's me, not you probably. That's me. Oh, lordy, 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 lordy. It's been a good day here. Weather was nice. Got to go out. Oh man, early February. All right. Yeah, Smitty, it's you know, it turns out Ross Hines has some idea of what colors go together. We're not really nearly done with it, but yeah. When I put this test model together, I was like, oh my gosh, this is just not I don't like this test model. I'm going to repaint this guy at some point in time when I get a chance, probably. So I decided that this turret was way too pastel. So I definitely, I took Todd's Master Gun's advice. Instead of highlighting up from green with white, I took this sort of, it's middle stone, kind of, I don't know, it's a tannish brown, and highlighted that up, and that gave us this this much nicer sort of OD green look to the top of this. So yeah, I'm hopeful for it to turn out properly. And then of course Schmitty and it was Ilmarin and Mayor Dude and A. Rourke last week helped me decide where to put the paints. The placement of these oranges, a lot of that belongs to them, and I think they made really good choices. When last we talked, we had made the decision that we were going to take this, see if I get this to a spot where it'll focus. Man, I need a better camera. But yeah, so there are some teeny tiny little like plate looking things back here. And I think what we agreed on was we're gonna come in here. We're gonna paint these things kind of back to gray, and then we're gonna come in and paint them Adon orange, so that we have a little more orange up here in this turret. We've got a little bit right here where the airbrush didn't quite cover as well, so we're gonna try and build that up with a regular brush. Then we're gonna try and do some pin washes. We're gonna do a oil-based pin wash, but we'll get into that here shortly, I hope. And I was looking at this guy before the stream, trying to decide what I might need to do. And the one thing I look at, and I'm like, I kind of feel like this gray is all it's all one color, and I'm not sure that's going to work out for us. I feel like there should be. I mean, the general idea is that the lights for this model are coming this way, the direction of the brush. And so we get, we should have brights here, which for the most part we do. But correspondingly, we should have some darker tones here. I made a point of making sure we got that here on the sides, but I failed to do it here on the top. I should have, before I ever put any of this orange on, I should have taken my, my black and come in here and sort of just glazed over this with an airbrush. And I could still do that, but I would get some overspray onto the orange. So I think the plan is this is actually an autocannon, I think, on the Cossack. Here, let us look real quick. Let's pop up the data card. Excuse me, I had to cough. It's actually got a medium autocannon, not a Mac. And so I guess an autocannon is a regular ammo-based gun, and so it needs a muzzle brake. I guess. I don't know. It's just a miniature to me, but I think it looks great. I really like the look of this muzzle brake on here. I like the fact that it's so oversized. To me, that I don't know. It's just my kind of odd. I really like it, and I love the color that Ilmarin suggested that we paint this muzzle brake orange. I would have never thought to do that. I don't know what I would have done with it, but I wouldn't have painted it orange, and so now I'm really glad we have. So that's where we are. That's kind of the plan for tonight is to, oh yeah, I forgot to tell you. I got sidetracked here. So probably what we're going to end up doing is at some point in time trying to glaze each of these panels. I don't know if you can make sure I'm on the stream here. So that the bottom half to third or quarter or so of these panels are just glazed back down a little bit so they're a little darker so we get the sense of the light falling off in this direction. But first I'm going to pin wash it. Because it may be that the pin wash is enough. It may give enough separation and contrast, and we might be able to use that oil wash to just kind of glaze these as well. So I'm going to work with the pin wash first. At least that's the plan. Yeah, Smitty, I going back up a comment, looks kind of like a blowout wreck. That's a comment that I made last week. To me, this thing does have the ammo. Right here, it's got the ammo bin, this SA right here, which effectively is a get out of jail free card for running out of ammo. And so to me, maybe that means like there are multiple individual magazines in there, and the ammo bin is like one of them blowing out when it gets hit, rather than taking out like, you know, the tank or the all the rest of the ammo in this case. And so then, you know, after the one's gone, then, you know, you're just stuck. If the other half of the ammo blows up, you're just out of ammo maybe. But yeah, I think that's an excellent rationalization for what's going on there. Looking up at the chat real quick here. Yeah. So excited for your airbrush, man. Dude, I want to see you get to work with that thing. That's, the airbrush is, you know, it's just one of those, it's a tool you should have in your bag, you know. You could probably live your life nowadays without a flat-bladed screwdriver. But man, some days they're just the right tool. You know what I mean? So knowing how to use the airbrush, I think, is a good thing. That maybe you'll use it a lot. Maybe you'll barely ever use it. Don't really know. But I know for me, it went from, I don't know how this thing works, to, wow, it's kind of my go-to tool. It's like the first thing I want to pick up when I'm getting ready to paint a miniature in acrylics. I'm trying to learn how to do some painting with oil paints, but I haven't found an application for the airbrush there. But it's still a huge part of my go-to toolbox. Anyway, so what do we need to do here? We need to think about some stuff we can talk about real quick. So while I shake this paint up. So Thursday, we're going to have the I don't know, some number, I think 14 or something like that, 14th episode of the Big Stompy podcast, which of course is counting continuously from its origination as a podcast before it became a Twitch stream, the second Twitch stream. Anyway, long story short, we're going to talk about some of the starter squads that you get when you buy a rulebook. So Ross and Todd are going to kind of go through those, talk about what they're good for, what their strengths are, how you might expand them, that sort of thing. Kind of help out the newer players, the people that may have just picked those things up or are thinking about picking them up. You can get some sense of how they play, because some people care about. They want a balance of aesthetic and functionality, and so maybe you don't like LRMs or the CAV equivalent of it, the rockets, and so those guys will help you understand what it is that those forces are good for. And then at the end of that, we have a little bit of virtual CavCon stuff we're going to do. So Todd, Ross, myself, and Hugh, who's sometimes in here. I don't see him right now, but sometimes he's here on the stream. In the lead up to CavCon. Virtual CavCon, we're all going to paint new forces and kind of, throw it out there on the streams and in the Facebook groups and the Discords and things like that. So, we can generate some momentum and some interest and, get some new models maybe that, our John hasn't released yet, so you can see things. And we're going to, basically try and generate some noise for Cav as we head into the convention. And one of the things we're going to do Thursday, I believe, cross my fingers, hope this works. Oh, I guess it would help if I got rid of this picture. Yeah, let's get rid of this picture. Hello? Picture. There we go. All right. Still working. Yes. Okay. Crossing my fingers that we're going to be able to, what we're going to do is we're going to randomly draw factions. So the four of us, Hugh, myself, Ross, and Todd, we're going to randomly get assigned a faction to design and paint a force for from amongst the available factions. So I'm kind of excited about that, but also kind of worried. I'm like, oh, crap, I've never painted a rock model before in my life. So what am I going to do for those guys? Anyway, don't know what I'm going to get, but I'm excited. So if you get a chance, stop by Thursday, 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. Hear about the hear the two play tournament powerhouse gurus talk about the starter forces, and you can also see what we get assigned to paint. You see the desperation in my eyes as I realize, oh my gosh, I gotta paint a whole army in a short period of time. It's not something I'm particularly good at. All right, first things first. Now this gray is just really, I just decided to go with this nice neutral primer gray that I originally did the Zenithal highlighting in. I just decided to make it the gray for the tank, because the camo spec, or whatever you want to call it, called for it to have a light gray chassis. And so I'm just going to put a little bit of this out here on my wet palette, just a tiny little bit because I don't need much. I'm going to pick up this itty bitty teeny tiny brush. Paint faster. Yeah. That's a thing. It's easier said than done, I believe, Mr. Cthulhu. All right, so I got this guy here on the thing. By the way, thanks for stopping by and checking us out here. And I'm going to try to make sure I get on camera here. I feel like the focus is not that good right now. Let me monkey. Oh, that's not what I meant to do. Professional streaming here, 100%. Configure this video. Let's get this. See if we can improve this focus just a little bit here. That seems a You would think the autofocus would be the way to do that, but it's surprisingly terrible for this camera that I happen to have to stream with here. All right, so we get a tiny little bit of this gray, and this is should be really simple unless we somehow find a way to mess this up. We're just going to come in here, we're just going to put a little tiny bit of this gray on each one of these individual panels. And the reason we're doing that is so that the orange, when I put orange over the top of them, it'll be, it'll have the same, what's the right word here? It should have the same quality of orange as these do, because these are painted over gray and white. And so if I were to just try and paint orange over this green, it would be a little bit different. Man, this is hard to do for my old eyes. I would normally shove this thing right up underneath my nose. Tone. Perfect. Perfect, Elmarin. Perfecto. And be staring at this thing from like 3 inches away or closer. So this is quite challenging for me. Then we'll flip this around. Gotta make sure there's something that's visible here. Maybe I can bring these lights in just a smidgen closer. Maybe that'll help out with getting a little bit more light in there. Move this guy up. Get the microphone so I stop face bumping it. Check this out here. All right. Grab a smidgen more paint. come back in here. Urgh. I'm not talking because I can't breathe and paint at the same time. Not these fiddly little long-range bits. Oh, man. So, you know, I'm not really sure which faction I'm kind of hoping for, because one of my problems with painting, you know, like painting calves and just models in general is coming up with a good paint scheme. You know, something that that both looks good and, you know, is not ridiculously stupid hard to paint. And you know, there's a little time pressure going on to get these guys painted up in time for virtual CavCon. And so, you know, I mean, I've got a few paint schemes that I sort of like for some of the factions. So if I were to happen to get Almirathil, I'm honestly not sure what I would do, because I painted up all those Almirathil back in the fall for the first virtual CavCon. Yeah, Cthulhu. Those GW contrast paints are really good. In fact, I used... this is actually a shade. It's not a contrast paint, but to me it's very similar in the way you use it. I use this on those Almirathil models I was just talking about, those black and yellow dudes. Hold on a second. Well, just knock all the models over. These guys. I used some of that Cassandra yellow to go in and just, you know, kind of draw all the different colors together into that sort of yellowy brown color that they are. And I think the contrast paints are perfectly fine. GW's products, I don't have a problem with them in general. They're kind of expensive, but you know, sometimes an expensive tool is the right tool. And it just depends on what you're doing and, you know, your own particular situation. All right, that's probably good enough. I'm not painting this on the camera prevents me from getting like really up close and personal, so I can see exactly where this stuff is going. Just try and fill these out just a little bit. So yeah, you know, like I said, if I get Almirathil, I've got that black and yellow scheme. I probably should paint something new, you know what I mean? I shouldn't paint the same exact scheme. If I get, you know, I've got one Templar, maybe a couple of Templar schemes. I've got a Malvernus scheme I would love to expand. So I guess I'm kind of hoping I draw Malvernus. Because if I get a chance to paint up Malvernus stuff, hold on a second, I'm going to probably, come here, Pillager. I'm probably going to expand on these guys. This guy's really hard to see in this particular light. This is that nebula pattern that I spray over the blackish purple. This is an okay example. I think I could do this a lot better now in retrospect, in hindsight. But I would love to finish out a force like this, because honestly, this is kind of fast. Once you have the right control, God, this looks terrible on the screen. Let me monkey around with this. This is the Watch James Play with the Limited Technology stream, because I don't know. I thought about buying a new camera for the stream, but I was like, you know, I'm not sure that I really need to. Is this gain? Is that what I want? No, that's too much. Yeah, that's the floor of gain, so that's clearly not what we need here. Exposure. There we go. That's a little more like what it looks like. A little more, I don't know. Me and this camera do not get along. But yeah, so if I end up with Malvernus, I will definitely pursue this kind of a paint scheme. But if I get one of the factions that I've never really painted for, Skeleton Horde Khaki, Snakebite Leather Brown. Yeah, Cthulhu. Where are the pictures? I want to see them. Share them. Post them up on Discord. That sounds fantastic. I always loved desert sort of khaki sort of paint schemes. Plus the this new scenario pack that John is working on. It's got an Egyptian theme, and he's got that giant desert board, so it sounds like it would be perfect for that sort of thing. Let me get this. All right, now we've done that, let's set everything back so we can actually look at this guy. Where do we need to be here? Turn this exposure up just a little bit. Is the focus good? I guess as good as it's going to be. Okay, done. All right. Yeah, I'm excited to see those pictures. Mr. Cthulhu, winner of all the stuffs. All right, so that's probably dry enough. This is acrylic paint after all. That's what it's known for, is drying rapidly. So clean up the ugly tip of this 8-on orange. And then squirt some out there. See what we can do with this. So yeah, I might be looking for some paint scheme suggestions in the near future. Tune in Thursday night to find out. And then it might be fun to just, throw it out there and, let the viewers kind of help me, pick a scheme. All right, so here what I'm trying to do is I got this place where so when I sprayed with the airbrush, this top fin on the muzzle brake created this shadow here and prevented the orange from really getting around here, and I didn't notice it. And so I thought I would just try and repair this with some really thin 8-on orange. Just really, it should be shadowed because, it's behind the lights. It's the light source is coming this way across that fin. So this should be a darker color, but it's not orangey enough. So I just need to come in with a little bit of a light glaze. Kind of clean up just a few places where I'm not happy with the coverage. But again, you got to be careful when you're painting these thin acrylics. You got to let them dry. They do dry rapidly. But if you just try and keep painting over the top of them, you're just going to tear the paint that's half dry underneath it. And realistically, I should honestly do this with an airbrush so I can match sort of the quality, and when I say quality, I don't mean superiority. I just match the style of the paint, but it's such a small area. I thought it would be okay, and I'm mostly going to photograph this guy from this angle over here, so that's going to be all right. German P dot camo pattern. That sounds like a lot of work. You going to come help me paint these guys, Cthulhu? Again, post up a picture over in Discord so I can see what you're talking about. I kind of think I've seen this paint scheme. Maybe. I'd have to go double check it to see, though. Not 1,000% certain I know exactly what that particular paint scheme looks like. Clean my brush up a little bit, and then we'll come back in and try and do this itsy bitsy teensy teeny weeny orangey bits. And these are going to take, a couple of layers of paint to cover up everything. And we're using such a, I could probably use a bigger brush to do this, but again, the fact that I'm painting from, 1.5 feet away where I would normally be 3 or 4 inches away is, makes me err on the side of caution in terms of sticking a big brush with a full belly of the brush of paint in there. Touch it in the wrong place and suddenly We got orange where we don't need no orange. Yeah, all right, Cthulhu. I'm not sure what I did to you, but I apologize for it. Please don't curse me with some kind of crazy paint scheme I can't possibly pull off. That would make my life just hard as heck. But yeah, what do you guys think? I mean, when I get assigned this faction, whatever it is, you wanna chit chat about it and kind of brainstorm a paint scheme? Heck, as far as I'm concerned, we could brainstorm the list. You guys can design the list, and I will pick up the models, and we'll do the People's Force. Mr. Wraith. Oh, that stuff. Yeah, okay. Cthulhu, you're trying to murder me. You can stop that right away. I'm not sure I'm capable of painting that. Thanks, Mr. Tiger Wraith. Thank you very much. It's a good-looking paint scheme, but good God Almighty! I'm just going to guess that we're going to use basically the tournament rules for designing this force. So it's going to be 12 models probably, and I'm not sure that I have enough time to paint 12 models in that particular scheme between now and the end of March. But I don't know. I mean, I guess I need to look at it a little bit closer. But that's only one vote. Maybe somebody out there will have another idea, one that, I don't know, is just as good. Maybe a smidgen easier to paint. Man, this is... I'm beginning to think I should have done the Julia Child maneuver and painted this guy up off stream and just said, hey, yeah, look, I got excited and did that painting that we talked about. Because I am struggling to hit these things precisely and get into the corners of them. And the problem is I'm kind of covering up the little tiny green lines in between. And if you think these little orange things are going to be hard to paint, trying to repair those tiny green lines so I get some separation could be a challenge. Although if they are recessed, which it looks like they might be, that pin wash might just save the day. Sounds legit. Blue, white, and yellow. Well, I mean, those are good colors. Blue and yellow especially are nice and complementary to each other. What about I don't know. I mean, how do you see them going on the models? Ilmarin, got any ideas? Bonus points for paint schemes that can take advantage of the airbrush because it's fast. And it's something that I don't know, I'm decent at the airbrush. Not fantastic, but I'm decent. God. Getting this thing up to the... I might have needed to actually bring that up to white because the front of this muzzle brake is much brighter than this is going to be. Because I forgot it got zenithal all the way up to white. And so that orange is really popping over the top of the front of that muzzle brake. Like icy, but with yellow highlighting. Wow. This is going to take some conversations because, I got to think about it. Plus, it's kind of, important to see what faction I get. Because the other thing is, I hope, I suspect that John's going to let us have access to some unreleased models. I'm not saying he is. That's not a confirmed. That only makes sense to me that he would want to feature, like showcase his upcoming models to generate, build and generate interest for them. And so, I might get an opportunity don't tell John I said this, but if I accidentally happen to get Almirithal, I could order 28 of these Cossacks and work on my own unit for the tournament. Shh, I didn't say that. Actually, I don't know there's actually going to be a tournament. I don't... John is... the details are still fluid, I guess is probably the best way to say that. We're not 100% certain what we're going to be doing just yet. So one of the ways that I will combat the fact that this orange and that orange have kind of different tonal values is after I'm done here and done with all the washing, I'll come back in with this and highlight it with some white and come in and put some little tings, like the glint off an anime sword or whatever you want to call that. Oh, Ilmarin. No, I'm not saying it's a bad idea. I just, in my head, I can't really picture it. So we might need to communicate a little more so that I can grasp what you have in your head. And then again, I mean, if that's what you guys want, it's like, let's just make James paint, ketchup and mustard hot dog mix, whatever makes you happy. I mean, we're hobbying together. This is my time is your time right now. So you guys want me to paint up a taco truck? Whatever makes you happy. That's my goal. I mean, you guys did such a fantastic job on laying out this orange amidst this green. I'm really tempted to trust you. Just say, let's make the people's force. All right, I think we need to go over it one more time, all the way around, and then we'll be time to let it dry and come back to it. Maybe do a little pin washing. I would really like to get to that stage tonight. I don't want you to go away and say, yeah, we watched James paint orange on like something the size of a pea all night long for the whole show. That's all he did, was he just put orange on this little pea. Alright, I'm just going to call that good, because that's not really going to pop properly until we get the highlights in there. But let's put that back on the tank. Take a look at that. Again, it's a little too subdued right now. I mean, it's so small. It really needs to have like a really bright white highlight to it. But I think it's going to work. I don't want to put the highlight on now because the pin wash might get on there and take it down, and then I would just have to rebuild it back up. But yeah, I think it's got potential. It kind of, I don't know if you, like I said, I wish I had a better camera. If you could see the missile tips that I tipped white there on the front of the tank. I know it's kind of a cop-out, but those look better in person where I can actually see them. Like I said, this poor camera that I have. I think it's going to work. I think it's going to look quite good. I think Ilmarin and O'Rourke and Murdude last week had a fantastic idea with the placement of that orange. All right, so now, nothing new to say. We're going to push this guy out of the way just for a second. We're going to take up this right here, all right? So this, oh my gosh, my camera does not like white, does it? Boy, it's just so reflective. Let me pull these lights back now. See if we can get a little less light. There we go. That's better. All right. So this is a bottle of paint that I made up. Like I said, I'm trying to learn how to oil paint. This is basically just a tube of oil paint that I bought at Michael's. I squeezed it out. I thinned it with some Mona Lisa odorless paint thinner. And so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this brush on paint, and I'm going to put some of it in here, and I'm going to turn it into a pin wash. I've been talking this stuff up for a couple of weeks now, so I'm really hoping. I probably should have shook that up. I'll shake it up now, after the fact. Anyway, this works out the way it's supposed to. This'll look really good. All right, shake this up. Squirt some of this out into here. Come on, little oil paint. Why are you clogged up? Never fails, never fails. Where is my poker? Here we go. Poke down in there. All right. Give me some oil. There we go. There's a little bit of oil paint. Clean off the tip. All right, so now what we need to do is we need to turn this into a really liquidy wash. Just bump the camera. We're going to add some of this stuff in here. Take our brush and we're going to swirl it around. Get a really good mixture. That's probably not thin enough. We really want this stuff to just flow like no one's business. Get this thinned up. So this is basically the oil version of GW's Nuln oil. That might be good enough. Let me get a little dab of it out. And we'll see how it flows. That's probably too small a brush. What am I thinking? Let's use this one. All right. We're gonna reach over here and grab another test model because I don't want to put this on our good model until we know what we've got. All right, so here's another one of those third-party tanks that I happen to have. And I'm just going to take a little bit of this and try and get this. Let me pull these lights back in now that we're not trying to read a white label. Power of the inverse square law allows us to see better. All right. Oh, punch the camera. All right, so then we're just going to come in here. We're going to try and... that's more like that's a glaze. All right, I don't know if you can make that out, but when you do this right, what'll happen is you touch this right here in this little crevice, and see, I don't know if you can see, but the paint basically just runs down the channels of its own accord. In this case, there you go. And so this is panel line or pin washing. I don't know if you can see that, but I got that to go pretty much clearly just right into the panels, just right where I want it to go. So I think it's probably got the right consistency. So now for the moment of truth. All right, let's do a little, let's try and do this. Do I want a smaller brush? Let me think about this for a minute. What have I got over here with maybe a little tighter point? You look like you got something in your favor. All right, so we're trying to do this on like an out of the way part of the model first. We're going to come over here and we're going to try and pin wash right there. And we realize we don't have enough. All right. There we go. That's what I'm looking for. So, I don't know if you can see it, but it just naturally shoots down those little channels. I think that one channel is a little wider. Maybe I need to turn my brush a little cross-sectionally. Yeah, it's just not going to work down that channel. So then the idea is you just come in here and you go all around the model where you want this sort of outlining. This, you want to do some details, you want to strengthen up the shadows in those recesses. And that's kind of what I'm looking to do, is I'm just trying to pick out those details that kind of all turned neutral gray. And you can bump it up against the sides of things, and it'll just do a lot of the sort of the black lining work that we would do meticulously by hand to separate the different pieces of the model. This stuff will flow right around the edge of it and do a lot of that for us, kind of for free. And if we happen to get some in the wrong place, if like it's, becomes too much, it's, it stains a surface that we really want to be a light gray, we can always bring the airbrush back in and do some stuff with it to bring the gray back up with, some really controlled airbrushing, or maybe just regular brushing. Make sure this stuff is stirred up properly. Make sure it's not settling all the pigment out. Hey, Gimli. Nice to see you, buddy. Thanks for dropping by. We're just trying to do a little pin washing here, where we go around and just kind of cheat to get some free, basically edge highlighting. So we've got a tiny model, and I'm making tiny changes to it. So my apologies if you can't see any of this. It's a real thing. We get a chance to meet at a physical convention this year, and if anybody's wants to see more of it, I'd be happy to show you, although there are definitely better painters than me out there. So I don't know if you could yeah, probably not. Yeah, so this is just, it's really powerful. It basically, it's kind of like, it's like cheating. You just have to, be good at where you place it. And I got this makeup sponge, and I can just come in here and kind of wipe up a little bit of the oil if it gets where I don't want it to be. But I'm not sure there's really many places I don't want it to be. Like I said, I can come back in at this point, and if I want, I can strengthen these back up. All right, so here's a good example. Let's see if I can get this. Let me tinker with the focus here so I can try and show off how this really works. Sorry, I got to bring up the stupid camera controls again. Bring the focus up a little higher. Man. All right, that's about as good as I'm going to get. So I'm going to pick up some of this here oil wash. Just going to kind of touch it in there. You see how it just kind of runs around that ring? Sort of auto highlights that. Now, if there's a little bit too much in the bottom, I just wick my brush out. And I come in here and my brush will pick up some of that excess. Same thing down there. Just See how it just kind of goes right where I want it? Here are these little divots that are really hard to see. These tiny little impressions inside of this this teeny tiny little tank. A little too much there. And there too, but that's okay. It'll dry pretty translucent around there and leave the pigment accumulated down in the hole. And then I'll be able to clean up the little bit of a stain that it's going to leave. Yeah, I shouldn't have done that. That was not the right thing to do. Don't do that. Pretend like, here, let's go back and edit that out of the stream. That just made it worse. Oh well. Live and learn. We're all learning here. This is a learning experience. Come back here on the back. Highlight the little louvers or whatever these are back here on this ducted area of this model. Yeah, Gimli, so here's the thing. Yeah, black lining is really hard. So this stuff helps out. Dude, physics, not cheating. Yes, yeah, you're right. It's capillary action. And Gimli, you're right. With acrylic paints, I am totally a brush licker. It makes such a great point on the brush. It's something I learned a long time ago. With the oil paints, you do it once and you're like, wait a minute. That tasted like the engine block on my car. I'm not going to do that again. Cthulhu. All right, I'm going to go look that up. You posted on the Discord. Absolutely. As soon as I get a chance, I'm going to pop over there and take a look at your paint scheme. I'm excited to see it. So now it's just a matter of going around here and finding all the places you would like to just accentuate kind of the edging. And like I said, you know, we'll let this dry. We may need to come in and do it a second time. It may not be enough the first time. And if, like I said, if it, you know, because we're not super far along in the painting of this this piece, you know, if it blemishes the surface a little bit, you know, I can just come in and correct that. It's not that big a deal. It's not like I've got, you know, 14 hours of layering or highlighting or anything, you know, stocked up, built into something, and then I accidentally touch it with this oil wash and change all the colors that I spent all that time building up. We're still early days in painting this guy. Needs the basing. Yeah, me too, Gimli. Looking forward to seeing this Crusader of yours. Very, very, very much so. I like all the models. So we just go in. Touch in between these plates to get our free get out of jail ticket or card for not having to do the black lining in there. And like I said, it's such a, I mean, you know, it's such an important thing with miniature painting to, you know, sort of create separation between, you know, pieces of the miniature, you know, so like that's something we'll do with armor on a knight or something, is we will go in and either through really deep shadows or just literal black lining, we will go in and separate those pieces by doing this sort of, you know, color change. You know, you're adding a an edge to the two pieces to separate them for the eye. And this oil wash, this black lining, can really help you out with that. This can be very, very conducive to getting that done quickly. And like I said, as long as you don't do it before you've done your final highlights, you're not really at risk for damaging anything. And the amount of time you save is just crazy. Now, I'm trying to do a pretty controlled version of this, but I suppose you could just come in and bathe this thing in this oil, and then because it's an oil wash, it takes forever to dry. So you could then come back in and clean it up and remove the part that you like maybe got somewhere that you didn't want it to get. You wouldn't get all of it. It would still have some effect on the model, but you can pick a lot of that back up. Now, the thing is, if I had that in mind, I would probably seal the acrylic paints the way I would a finished model. Maybe even more so. I might seal them with like a gloss coat, with the idea that that gloss coat is going to protect all the acrylic work I did underneath. And then if I want to come in and, kind of roughly attack, the oil wash with a Q-tip or something to pick up the parts of it that I'm not happy with, that coating is going to protect your previous acrylic work for the most part. I mean, you can't get in there and scrape at it, but, it'll be helpful. One of my things with painting is, I want to paint good-looking models, but I kind of don't want to spend 100 hours painting one model. I mostly paint gaming models, and so I want something I can play with, something I can put on the table, and my opponent look down and go, hey, that looks solid. I appreciate that. It makes me feel good that they notice that I put the time and effort into my paint job, and it makes me feel good to play against, well-painted force. Yeah, Gimli, that's a good idea. I have some Gundam paint pens that's good for lining. I wonder if they would work for Cav. That's a good question, Cthulhu. Gundam, so you're talking about putting together the big model kits, the fancy, big giant anime robot dudes. Is that what you're talking about? Yeah, okay. Yeah, I'd be curious. A lot of times you can really pick up, good tricks from those other, related hobbies. I'm sure 99% of all the stuff we do in miniature painting was invented by those historical tank guys, like ages ago. You know what I mean? It's nothing new under the sun. All right. I kind of like that a little bit right there, but I think I'm going to wick some of that up. All right. I'm going to do, so now this is the same stuff, but I'm actually kind of glazing here. So now what I'm doing is I'm just trying to shift these colors down a little bit and blend them in. So they have a little bit of a, fade to a shadow at the bottom of them. Just strengthen in that airbrush fade that we put down there. So it looks like they come down to, like a darker cast. And I should do it here on the orange too. I'm not sure black is the right color to do this with for orange, but I'll just blame it on Tiger Wraith. Tell everybody it was his idea. That's what he gets for showing up. Probably be a little too much on the other side, but this is the shadowed side of the tank, so that little bit of extra wash there is not that big a deal. Pick a little bit of that back up. Yeah. So in this case, what we've done is we've got a little, you know, that circle there is not acceptable. So I'll have to come back in later and erase that with the orange a little bit. But yeah, so right now I'm just kind of creating some variety with these strong glazes. Little tonal variety that I will, like I said, I will come back in and clean up when I'm off camera, so I can actually stick this thing at the end of my nose to paint it like the old man that I am. Come on now, Tiger Wraith. Come on now. Everybody knows this is your crazy idea. You're really the secret mastermind behind this stream. Like this stream's got anything related to mastermindery in it. All right. Yeah, and some more back here. Back here, this is all in shadow, so we can just kind of go hard back here. We just slap this on all over the back here. Forgot about these little triangle bits right here. Give them some extra shadow. All right, so now we need to let that sit and dry for a little bit. Be tomorrow before I can really mess with that. Got about 4 or 5. Come on now, Tiger Wraith, help a brother out. We got about 4 or 5 minutes left, so I'm going to try and do some quick washing on this thing, this turret, and then we will call it for the night. I don't know if you can see that, but that is so magic. And you just touch this and bam. 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 I hope you could make out how easy that made that out. I mean, now I don't have to go in and paint that and try and repaint those greens. That pin wash just said, I got that. Let me do that heavy lifting for you. That's, you know, I got this. Hold my beer. I think this tank is going to turn out pretty good. I think Mr. Ilmarin and his cohorts, Mayor Dude and A. Rourke, they had some good ideas. And like I said, this stuff's long drying, so I could just come in here and kind of pick some of that. Actually, I'm not going to pick that back up at all. I'm just going to let it dry. I kind of like it. Get some more. I have seen people that have the kind of technique where they will just literally come in and slather this oil wash all over the model. I mean, to the point where it's like, oh my God, what have you done? And then they'll come back in with some really clean Q-tips or these little makeup style Q-tip sponge thingies and just pick up all the parts that they don't like. Come on, Tiger Wraith. Your name is on the checks, buddy. I can show people the evidence. Don't make me go get my my latest pay stub. So yeah, now I'm just kind of coming along and just wherever I want to create some separation, like here around this turret. Hold this up here and touch this at the base of this turret. And it'll just kind of find its way wherever gravity wants it to go. The capillary action and a little bit of gravity. So now I can pick out all of these little bits here. Got to make sure the belly of the brush is full. These little widgets on top here, I just touch the top of them. Oh, that was too much. Too much there. But like I said, I just drink it back up with a fairly empty brush. And like I said, it's an oil, so it gives you plenty of working time. So like right here along this line, I'm going to come in. God bless. And I'm going to try and get a black line. Not enough. There we go. back on this side. Got to remember to let gravity be your buddy too. I'm going to come in behind this muzzle brake. Just let this oil wash. I mean, literally black line that complicated space for me for free with almost no effort on my part. All right. Probably give this bit right here tiny little bit. Same thing over here. And then I want to do like around the front edge of this. I don't know what this piece is along this barrel. I can't remember what that's called in a tank. If it even has a name. I'm sure it has a name. So I was stationed at Fort Knox a long time ago when I was young and in the Army, and I worked alongside tankers, but I was myself not a tanker. So I saw a lot of tanks, but I didn't really learn all the bits. My job was to fix tankers that hurt themselves, which they often did. But that's another story. All right, so there, that's very wet. We're going to let that be. Set that down. In some universe, we're going to set that down. You find something to set it on. Punch the camera. God, I hate this. This camera's on my nerves. Obviously, that's why I keep punching it. So yeah, tinker with the focus one last time for you. So I can get those things to come in. Tiger Wraith. Next time you're in the budgetary committee meeting and you're deciding how to spend the millions of dollars you have for this particular stream, try and budget us a new camera, okay? Bore evacuator. Sparks! Sparks, if I ever get the opportunity, I owe you dinner for designing this Cossack. This thing is spectacular. I love it. Yeah, sorry, Tiger Wraith, I didn't see your question earlier. So this bit right here, this is the part I'm talking about right here. This tube, this larger cylinder that goes around the main gun barrel. I don't know what that's called, but apparently Mr. Murphy says it is a bore evacuator. For those of you who might not know, Sparks Murphy, the guy that I just started posting, he's the sculptor for this particular model. Unless I'm mistaken, 99.9999% sure this is Mr. Murphy's model. And man, I'm telling you, Sparks, when this thing becomes available, I have a whole company, or maybe it's a battalion, I don't know. I'm buying like 28 of these. I need 28 of them right away. So if you could, like nudge John and tell him, that he needs to take care of that, I would really appreciate it. Oh, so that's kind of a good stopping point. We kind of need to let this oil wash, this pin washing that we did with dry, and that's going to take, I don't know, 4 or 5 hours probably. Oil paints dry really slow. Yeah, Sparks. I hope it turns out good. This is Ross's concept for a paint scheme. Honestly, when I read it and I started looking at the tank, I was befuddled. I was like, how am I going to make the gray, orange, and green work together? And so in the last stream, I was still a little befuddled, to be honest with you. I painted this test model, a third-party product, just to see what the colors kind of look like together. And I wasn't really happy with the results, so I got some advice from Todd, Master Guns. And then in the last stream, Ilmarin, A-Rourke, and Merdude, they helped me pick out where to put the oranges and kind of gave me some tips on how to approach the paint job. And I'm super happy with the layout. It's spectacular. In fact, I might just paint my... I haven't come up with a concrete idea for my Almirantha Force with 28 Cossacks in it, but it might end up being the scheme because it's honestly kind of a simple scheme so far. If it ends up looking good enough at the end, it's a good candidate. Where are we now? So next Monday, the oils will all be dried, and I'll go in and probably adjust some of the glazing, get some of the boring stuff out of the way. But I won't try and change it too much because I want everybody to see how it progresses. But I think if all things have worked out, we'll probably be doing a little bit of highlighting next week. We'll bring up some of those oranges to make them pop. We'll put in some edge highlighting to kind of differentiate some of the armor panels. We still got to paint, because this is a grav tank, we still have to get underneath here and paint these crazy gravitic emitters or whatever these things are down here. Definitely got to clean that up, but that's something I'll do off stream. Get this thing cleaned up. We got to paint the cockpit glass. Got to decide what color that's going to be. Not sure if that's really cockpit glass, but that's how I want to paint it. Then we'll be pretty close to being done. I don't know if John wants decals on this guy. I think if this comes out good enough, I think this might get photographed for the JOR maybe. I'm not sure. That'd be pretty cool. I would like that. So that's what's going on next Monday. Cthulhu is still trying to personally assassinate me with his German P. camo. I haven't said no yet. I need to go look at it and see how it's actually painted. Maybe. We'll see. So, and part of what we're talking about there is Thursday night, 8 p.m. Central Standard Time, we're going to have the next episode of the Big Stompy podcast. We're going to talk about the starter forces that are available to people that buy the book. That little starter squad, Todd and Ross are going to analyze it, puzzle it, tell you what its strengths or weaknesses, how you might want to expand it, how you might want to play it. And at the end of that, what's going to happen is we're going to randomly assign to Hugh, myself, Todd, and Ross a random faction for them to design and paint a force in time for virtual CavCon. Then, of course, we're gonna throw that out there. Cthulhu, you really are trying to kill me. That's a magic number. I may have to take you up on that. So we're gonna get randomly assigned a faction. So I could get Rock, I could get Malvernus, Templars, Adenese, maybe Mercs. I don't know for sure what all's out there, but we're each gonna get randomly assigned a faction, and then we're gonna design and paint a force and put it out there, to kind of build up some interest in the upcoming virtual CavCon. And so what I'm offering to do is, once I get my faction assigned, I'm going to reach out to the people that are part of the stream and say, hey, let's design this force. Let's pick a paint scheme. Let's just do this together. Make this the people's army. I'm open to that. I hope people aren't trying to take advantage of that generosity and get me to paint like, some Gordian knot of colors, because I'll just fail and be happy about it anyway. So that's what's going on Thursday. Of course, Tuesday, tomorrow, we have John's terrain stream where he's working on that pyramid-based desert board that I think is tied into the Flashpoint. 99% sure that's what's going on. He shared some new things that he's been crafting offline, so you should definitely tune in tomorrow to see those. They are pretty cool looking. Wednesday, John and this really old ugly guy named James are going to be on talking about Cav in general. I'm sure virtual CavCon will be a big deal. We'll be talking a lot about that. And then, of course, Thursday, Big Stompy podcast. And then Saturday at 2, I believe, Central Standard Time, Mr. Chris Lewis will be online streaming his work on something, the Mastodon, the Mammoth, one of those gigantic Uber mechs that, has a cannon bigger than this tank probably. So that's the schedule for the week. I look forward to seeing you all Wednesday night and Thursday night. I'll try and drop in on John's stream tomorrow for a little bit, so I might get a chance to chat with you all there. Again, thanks to Ilmarine and A-Rourke and Mayor Dude for helping me hammer out the layout of this scheme. Thanks everybody else for the suggestions and the time. Gimli, nice to see you. Sparks, super nice to see you. I know it's very... The differences in time are immense between where we are. So thanks for dropping by. Thanks for the Cossack. I really love it. All right, you all, be good to each other. Be good to everybody. Just, do something nice for somebody. Just go out of your way and make somebody smile. You know, it's just your chance to make the world a little bit better. If we all do it, the world will be a lot better. At least in my opinion. Have a good night, folks. Talk to you later. Peace.